So come to find out, my son was getting breakfast, walking his sister to class, and just wandering the school unaccounted for an hour every single day. And
Oh,
this was going on for about 3 months before I was told this at a parent teacher conference. Nobody called me, nobody sent a letter home, nobody was like curious as to why my son was late every day. And I had no idea that my son was late every day.
welcome to RCAM. I'm your host, Ryan, and thank you for tuning in today. Today we have on our show my guest, Judi Perez. How you doing today, Judi?
Good, Ryan. Thanks. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. It's beautiful down south, enjoying the lovely summer that we're having, and yeah, just making the best of it. So, I wanted to talk to you today about a couple different things. But just so that my audience can have an idea of who you are, why don't you just introduce yourself?
Okay, I'm Judy, and I live in New York, and I have three kids. They're 4, 5, and 7. Gabriel, Meredith, and Raphael. And I'm married. My husband's name is Michael, and I'm a content creator on Facebook, and I unschool my children.
That is awesome, and you must have your hands full with all those kids. It's got to be
Yes.
be busy. Um, so kind of one of the reasons that I want to do this with you is because not only do you make content, which I also do, you also mentioned unschooling to me, which is something that I'm pretty unfamiliar with. So I want to talk a little bit about that. But not too long ago, you had a video go viral, and I wanted to talk to you kind of about that experience. What was it like? From I guess from the time you posted that video till now.
Um, I wasn't expecting it to go viral. I was just testing the waters with content creation. I have some friends that do it, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. That's something that I want to do, especially with the fact that I unschool my children. It's something that's becoming more popular. But I had a moment where I was like, hmm, I'll probably get more views if I talk about how I'm actually feeling and things that I'm actually going through that people can relate to. So I posted a video, of my dad and troubles that we went through together, and it took about 3 weeks, and then all of a sudden it just went viral. And it was very overwhelming at first. I got hundreds of messages on Facebook of people just relating to my situation or being on his side of the situation at one point in their life. And it was both, nice and also sad because I don't want anybody to go through the things that I went through, but it's also nice to be able to relate to people and have the connections that I have now to be able to talk to people and go, through life with other people that are going through the same things.
Hmm. Well, you kind of answered kind of what led you to do that too. That's a lot of people, particularly with addiction, know that struggle. Like they understand, especially like people from our county. We know a thing or two about addiction. I had a guy say to me once that if you don't know somebody that's dealing with substance abuse, you're living under a rock. So I think that's something that would resonate with a lot of people. So I'm kind of encouraged to see that that video took off and you were getting some positive feedback from it. What was it like dealing with the negative feedback from that?
I actually didn't get as much negative feedback as I really thought I was going to. I did get a few comments where it was like, why would you post this? You're embarrassing him. But he knows I posted it. He knows what I wrote. And it's just the fact of the matter that it's my life too. I went through it, and it's my struggles as well. So um I guess those people, they don't understand because maybe they weren't in the same situation as me. So I don't take it to heart. I don't take it personally. I just let people, everybody's entitled to their opinions. So, and honestly, I didn't get as much lashback as I expected. So it wasn't that hard to go through it. A lot of people understand because they've been through it or they're going through it. and it sits with them well. They're grateful that I posted it, most people.
Good. Yeah, good. I'm glad. That's actually encouraging to hear. I guess my my content isn't so I get backlash. We'll just put it that way. And I get some negative feedback sometimes when I post stuff. On stuff that would surprise you though. There's some content that I made that I just did not expect a negative reaction to, and then I got it and I'm like, why this? Like of all the things to react to, why this? So it's weird. The internet can be weird sometimes. So I want to kind of get into the reason that I originally wanted to kind of discuss with you. So you mentioned that you're a homeschool, well, you're a mom that's unschooling. I've heard of homeschooling. I have not heard of unschooling, so I'm pretty unfamiliar with that. So that's new to me. Would you mind telling my audience a little bit about that?
Yeah, so traditional homeschooling would be where you bring your kids home and you teach them the same way or this with the same curriculum that a regular school would. So you wake up and say 9 a.m. you start class, you do math, social studies, English, and you have like a regular set schedule for school and you follow it, you take tests, and it's literally school but at home. Unschooling is more laid back and relaxed and learning at your own pace. So I don't have a set curriculum. I let my kids choose basically what they want to learn and when they want to learn it. There are some things that I try to do more frequently than others, like reading, spelling, math, stuff like that. I try to incorporate more often than other things, just because it's used more in your daily life. But I do a lot more field trips than actual sitting in the house learning, because I feel like a lot of people learn better, especially kids, when you're actually having your hands on and going through the experiences. So we do a lot of trips to aquariums, museums. Actually, this weekend, tomorrow, actually, I'm leaving. We're going to go to Crayola and we're going to go to Lost River Caverns. And we go to zoos and we just do a lot more hands-on learning and without a set curriculum, and it just, in my opinion, is better for the kids. It makes it more fun, it makes them want to learn instead of forcing them to sit. Their kids, they don't want to sit for 8 hours straight in a house or in a classroom with
Telling
a
me
set
going to a
curriculum.
zoo and going to an aquarium is more fun than sitting in a classroom for 8 hours a day? Who would have thought?
Yeah, so I feel
Um,
like the kids have learned it. My son, since he's been home, I've been unschooling since February-ish. And since he's been home, he's learned how to read really well, a lot more efficiently than he did when he was in school. And they learn math better. And it's just, I try to make it fun. So to help my son learn how to read, I got him a dad joke book. And he reads the jokes and then he tells the jokes. And it makes it more fun for him because he likes to make people laugh. So I said, okay, you want to make people laugh, learn how to read these jokes. So I'll help him learn how to read the jokes. And then he memorizes them and then he goes and tells people the jokes later on when he meets them. So it's just more laid back learning.
that's awesome. I think that type of environment, homeschooling in general is just better overall for boys, especially because they just have a little bit more energy, and sitting them in a classroom for 8 hours a day is just not good. Like I'm an adult. Being Sitting down for 8 hours a day is not an enjoyable experience. I gotta get up, I gotta do something. So I imagine for young boys in particular, it's probably the same. They need to things to change up a little bit for them to get out their energy and kind of run around and get exercise instead of getting like maybe 30-40 minutes of gym a day or a week, sometimes even some schools don't even have physical education anymore, which is crazy to me. But
Yeah, so actually, school stopped teaching a lot of things. Like, there's no more home economics class where they don't teach you how to cook anymore. They don't teach cursive anymore. There's a lot of schools that don't have pools, or, you know, it's just a lot of stuff that we used to have when we were growing up as especially Sullivan County just doesn't have. So not having my kids in school, I'm able to send them to Cub Scouts and have them join. I have memberships with like the YMCA. So we go to the pool during the winter. And then during the summer, we have a membership at a campground where they go and they swim there. And there's bike riding there and other events where they learn how to dance and hopscotch and do kid events. And then there's like Cub Scout camp. My kids, two of the three kids were old enough this year to go to Cub Scout camp this summer for about 3 weeks, and they learned how to use pocket knife safety and BB gun safety, and they again learned how to swim and how to start a fire, things that you don't learn in school and in more fun environments.
Sounds like it. So why did you, I guess, what put you over the edge to start homeschooling? I know this is a recent adventure for you. What got you into it?
So I was finally able to have the opportunity to stay at home with my kids, and being able to stay home with them, um, I was like, well, I don't really have a reason to not have them home with me too. And especially, still getting a little political here, but um,
Okay.
with the gun violence going on in schools lately and teachers not paying attention in schools, teachers have a hard job. They do. Don't get me wrong. Teachers, I praise them. They have a hard job. But my kids were in school, and my son's teacher had a parent teacher conference, which I went to. And she was like, it's kind of hard to keep the kids up to date with all the lessons that they need to learn because with COVID, there's not a lot of school lately. And so I really need the kids here every day on time. And I was like, at first, I was like agreeing with her. I was like, yeah, I understand. And then I realized she was talking about me specifically. So she thought that I was dropping my kid off late every day, an hour late every day. And I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean? I'm like the third person in line at drop off. What? My kid's here on time every day. I don't understand. And she was like, what? No, he's like an hour late to class every day. So come to find out, my son was getting breakfast, walking his sister to class, and just wandering the school unaccounted for an hour every single day. And
Oh,
this was going on for about 3 months before I was told this at a parent teacher conference. Nobody called me, nobody sent a letter home, nobody was like curious as to why my son was late every day. And I had no idea that my son was late every day. So I recently also heard about an occurrence in Binghamton, I believe, where a guy was just walking in through the school bus entry of the school, and for several weeks, he was pretending to be a student at the school before anybody realized that he wasn't actually a staff or student in the school. And so, with fires and guns and random people just walking into schools, I was like, I don't really like the idea of my son being unaccounted for an hour. So I took my kids out of school. I didn't feel safe. I'm home anyway. So why not? I feel better having
that's
them with me.
wild. That is wild. Yeah, and I thought that they were supposed, if your kid's late a certain amount of times, I thought they call like CPS or something. Like if your kid's like consistently not, I don't know, something like that, or maybe that's just missing days of school. Still though, it's alarming that you weren't alerted. But I do think
Yeah,
that is a another interesting thing to think about when it comes to homeschooling, because that's something where your kid is going to be safe. You don't have to worry about something bad happening them in school, be it, a mass shooting, which unfortunately is all too common right now, but you guarantee their safety by homeschooling them.
yeah,
We're getting our feet wet with our daughter. I mean, she's not in pre-K yet, but we're doing like some lessons with her to kind of get into the rhythm of homeschooling her, and she loves it, and she's learning a lot, and I'm pretty excited for it. I like the freedom that's offered in our scheduling. The flexibility is great. We could do what we want when we want, and we're not going to have to worry about sending her to scheduling things around her school schedule, which will be really nice. So what would be like your average day? I mean, you talked a little bit about some of the things you do, but what would be the average day of an unschooler? What does that look like?
For us, we don't really have like an we don't do the same things every day. So an average day would just wake up, brush your teeth, eat breakfast. Um, I try to do chores every morning, so laundry, dishes, and then I have the kids help out because that's part of home economics, learning how to survive in the home and be an adult at 4. Yeah. So I teach them, I let them help me fold clothes, I let them help me wash dishes, sweeping, mopping, making their breakfast. My 4-year-old helps me make pancakes, so I know he'll always be able to make pancakes.
Just
And
made pancakes with my wife yesterday, so she had fun doing that.
yes, they love it. And it provides such a much stronger relationship between kids and their parents. I feel like when you have them home and you help them and you go through these processes together instead of just sending them off to school every day without that engagement, it builds a stronger relationship. And my kids, I adore them and they adore me. So I'm really glad that, I get to have them home. But then after that, I always ask the kids like what do they want to do? And a lot of the times it's things like going to the park, going swimming, going to the movies, going to the trampoline park. And I try to find things along the way to help with learning. So like we look at red lights, I'll be like red means stop, green means go. It's just very simple things, all these things that you learn in school. And we go to the grocery store, I help pay for the groceries with them. So I help my son how to count the money and let him know how much money should you be getting back. If it was $19.50 and you give her 20, how much money are you getting back? So we incorporate every like math into everyday experiences, and same with like English, like we'll read a sign on the way, like, oh, what's that sign say? Where are we going? Are we there yet? What time is it? And what
Okay.
time will we be there?
So what I guess a lot of people have concerns about the socialization of your kids. Is that a concern of yours? What do you do to make sure that they're socialized?
It was a concern for me at first. I was really worried that they would miss out on basketball or softball or football or music lessons. But having them out of school and connecting with other parents that are in the same situation as I am, I've learned that there's so many sources outside of school that are either really cheap or free. I also have a really nice big brother who helps out with that. So my older brother Danny has been very much into history and uh, scouts ever since he was really really young. So very good at helping my kids learn history, and we're working together to plan trips to like different battlefields and museums and stuff like that. And he's very good with getting them into scouts and stuff. So they definitely get, and with the memberships I have at like the trampoline park, the YMCA, the campgrounds, they get socialization with kids that way. And things like the scouts and the Y, they have like sports programs that the kids attend, so they don't miss out on anything. My son, I actually was contemplating for a little while to send the kids back, um and my son was like, no, 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 don't, and I was like, okay, okay, fine, you win.
Hmm.
They love it.
Good. Yeah, that's awesome. I know a lot of parents have that concern over socialization, and if I'm being honest, I feel like I met a lot of people who are homeschooled that were very social. They just get socialized in different ways. And I think people just focus that homes or that public school is the only way to socialize your kids. And if I'm being honest, sometimes I'm like, yeah, but that's the exact type of socialization that I don't want for my kid. Like I don't want them
Right.
learning, like all these bad habits from other kids without just being taught how to think through them or overcome some of those things. I rather, have my kids hang out with families that I know personally, that I have a relationship with, that we can go do things together and then kind of socialize them that way so that I don't know, I feel like it's just a more holistic approach. And I think they too this podcaster I follow mentioned this, but the reason that homeschool kids are considered weird is because they're just more mature. They spend a little bit more time around adults, which I think is actually a good thing, and they're just more mature, so they're perceived as weird to their peers who aren't as mature as they are because they're being essentially raised by their other peers. So
Yeah, yeah. And honestly, they'll be more set for life, in my opinion, because they'll have more adult experiences early on, and it'll teach them how to cope and move through difficult times in life better
yeah.
as an adult. Yeah.
Yeah, it's real life, it's real life experience, real life encounters, learning to, take change and interact with people over a cash register, learning to, navigate these things that we do in real life. I think that's awesome. And then it's coming from somebody that they totally and completely trust, their parents. And I think, parents should be the primary influence in their kid's life. So there are a lot of people that they were kind of forced to make this transition during COVID. And I wouldn't say that's the same type of like the way they did homeschooling during COVID was just basically virtualized classrooms and they were sat in front of a computer all day. And that's what they considered homeschooling. So some of them have like a bad taste from that. And some of them are just unfamiliar with homeschooling in general. They don't understand the resources. They don't understand what it's like. They don't understand kind of the freedom that they get in their flexibility. And there's this fear, this concern, because it's an unknown. So what would you say to like a mom that's struggling to make that leap or that transition into homeschooling?
I would say every state has different laws and rules for homeschooling. So you have to first call your school or do research to find out what the policies are and the regulations are. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same, and it's not that scary. It sounds scary at first, especially like you mentioned, like people, I think one of the biggest fears is like if their kids don't learn enough or if their kids aren't held to a certain standard, they're scared that they'll be held back in society, or maybe CPS will be called on them or something of those lines. But it's not like that at all. And there's so many Facebook groups that you can join. We actually have like the luxury of social media these days where they didn't have it so much just a couple years ago. So there's so many Facebook groups and Instagram groups and even TikToks where you can learn so much and have so much support through complete strangers that'll end up becoming your best friends. And they make it so much easier and less scary.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely agree. I know my wife and I have got a lot of the information that we wanted for homeschooling from social media and connecting with people on social media. Too, you get a opportunity to connect with co-ops, which is just groups of people going out and doing things with their homeschool kiddos, linking up and just doing life together, and that too, I think again, it's just something that's a little bit more holistic because if let's say like I'm not really good with math, well this parent is, and they can kind of help out and we can kind of do this thing together to teach our kids, and or if it's something like survival, that's just a cool skill to have. And I just think it's neat, and it's something that definitely, I don't know, fosters their imagination and builds community and also just strengthens the bond of the family unit, which I think is like the bedrock of civilization. I think one of the most important things in our society is our families. And I think we have things happening in the world that are just trying to undermine that and trying to kind of keep us separate. I talked to somebody previously about homeschooling, and our society has basically accepted that it's a normal thing for kids to rebel when they're teenagers, but maybe it's not. Maybe they're taught that. Maybe that's something that they learn over time. Maybe I feel like that's probably something that's relatively new, because throughout history, a lot of kids had really great relationships with their parents. And I feel like sending them to public schools in ways kind of undermines that relationship, and kids start prioritizing their peers over their family. And I think, no, like the inverse is the normal thing. Like, like our family is our everything. So
Yeah.
that's, you know I just think it's really cool what you're doing, and it's encouraging, just to see somebody that's got into just got into it and is having success with it. And it seems like your kids really love it, and that's awesome. So, uh, do you have any final words of encouragement to either moms or influencers, people that might benefit from hearing something from you?
I just think that if it's something that parents are thinking about doing, that they should just do it, because you don't know if you like it until you try it. And you can't fail your kids with it. Like, if you want to homeschool for a month and then you don't like it, you can go right back to public school. Public school doesn't shame you for taking your kids out and trying something different. It's a simple letter of I'm you write a letter of intent stating that you would like to homeschool your kids, and then they give you a packet to fill out. If you don't like it, a month later, 2 months later, a year later, you just re-register your kids in school. So there's no scary side of this. It's just whether you like it or not. And I think that if you're even thinking about it, just try it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I 100% agree with that. Yeah, you won't really know what it's like until you're actually doing it. And I think a lot of people would be surprised over the benefits of doing it with their family, and to see the growth of their kids, would be is awesome. So, thank you, Judi, for coming on the show and for sharing your experience. I'm encouraged, and I think that the people that watch and listen that are on the fence are going to be encouraged. And I just appreciate your time. Where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on Facebook as Judi Perez, or on Instagram, Judi Perez 14.
Awesome, cool. Thank you, Judi. I appreciate your time, and I hope you have a blessed day.